How you doing, my friends? I hope you're holding up well. We just finished the second or third weekend of this crisis that's hit us the hardest in Washington State. This is our going into our second week of shelter in place, and I want to come to you as my friends and fellow leaders and just talk about the role of leadership through adversity. This is the fourth in our series, and I thought the best thing that I could do for this conversation is just talk about leading through adversity. What I believe about leadership is that nothing less than leadership changes the world. I believe that. I strongly believe that. I love investing in leaders. See, when I invest in a leader or someone invests in me, they influence everyone that I have contact with. So if I can invest in you, then I get to invest in your family, I get to invest in your kids, I get to invest in your company. That's the multiplication effect of leadership. So that's why I talk to leaders. That's why I invest in leaders, is because there's this exponential effect to investing in a leader. And so this series that I'm doing each weekday through this crisis is called Leading Through Adversity. I believe that the best leaders, they just rise up and they shine in the hardest times. And so I want to encourage you to rise up and show up. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you. And we can work together just to make the best out of this. So this is the fourth in this series. Let me just quickly review the first three if you haven't seen those, and you can go to our YouTube channel and look at those. Episode 1, I taught that leaders show up during crisis, and I mean show up with power. Leaders give perspective, and we're going to talk specifically about perspective today and tomorrow in episodes now 4 and 5. Leaders prioritize focus. You can't do everything. You can't change everything. There's much you can't control. So focus on what you can control. Episode number 2, we talked about how leaders provide traction in times of distraction. They give themselves and the people around them just simplify the playbook and work on what you can work on and get done. Leaders connect well. We recognize as we are disconnected during this time that people are afraid, they're worried, they're insecure, and they need their leaders to reach out to them and communicate. Leaders adapt to change. When stuff hits us as leaders, we adapt, we improvise, we overcome. And I see many of my clients, many of the leaders that I hang out with, they're just working on new ways to do things. Episode 3 last week was, in this episode I talked about principles of success, principles of significance. Make people your highest aim. Make your mindset your greatest craft. And we're going to talk about the power of the mind again today. And make impact your highest aim. Today I want to talk to you about principles of perspective. I promised you last week we're going to talk about perspective the first 2 days of this week. I'm going to give you 7 principles today and tomorrow. 3 today and 4 tomorrow. 7 principles of a powerful perspective. I said it last week, I'll say it again. How we view things is how we do things. And if we view things through a filter of worry and fear and weakness and insecurity, well, that's how we're going to do things. Leaders, however, rise up and we view things differently, so we do things differently. So grab a pen, grab some paper, take just a handful of notes. I hope you just get one thing out of today that adds value to your life. So number 1, principles of perspective. Number 1 is everything of value is uphill. Here's the perspective. Everything of value is uphill. It's hard. It's a challenge. Here's what Max Dupree says about leadership. The first response of a leader is to define reality. The first response of a leader is to define reality. Gang, here's a reality. This sucks. This is hard. We don't like it. We didn't want it. We wish it wasn't here, but it is here. That's the reality. Here's the reality. everything that's worth doing is hard. I look back at my life, and I'm going to share a little bit more about my childhood later. I shared a little bit last week. Every good thing that I've done, building a family, building a marriage, building businesses, working around the world, helping third world developing countries with food and water, and building orphanages and drug and alcohol rehab centers. Every good thing that I've done that's impacted lives has been uphill. It's been hard. Every good thing. I bet for you too. That's the nature. That's the nature of high quality, impactful things. They're hard. Listen, if they were easy, everyone would be doing them, but they're not. They're hard. They're uphill. I've climbed Mount Rainier 8 times. 8 times I've stood on the roof of Washington. And I've got to look out and look into the sound. You can see Seattle, all the way to Enumclaw. It's amazing. It's an amazing view. You know what? It's freaking hard to get up there. It is hard. There are some times where all you can do is put one step in front of the other. For some of us, maybe that's how you're feeling right now. This is hard. People are temporarily out of jobs, facing the closing of their business. Some people are getting sick. Let me tell you this. Coming out of this, when we build and rebuild, it's going to be an uphill climb, but it's worth it. I'm going to say it again, my friends. It is worth it. People ask me, how hard is it to climb Mount Rainier? I said, it's really hard. And what I've noticed is when I give that, people say, oh, I would love to do that someday. Here's what I've learned about people. People want mountaintop views, but they don't want to build climbing muscles. Say it again. People want mountaintop views, but they don't want to build climbing muscles. Here's another way to say it. People want the value of uphill, but they have downhill habits. They want uphill success, but they have downhill habits. Because, let's face it, most people don't put in the work to do the climbing necessary that you do. Because you're a leader. So what I'd like you to consider is as you're going through this adversity, you're building some climbing muscles. What I'd like you to consider during this time is I want you to regroup. I want you to rest. I want you to rest a little bit. I want you to hone your skills, hone your craft, reconnect with your family, work on some of the changes necessary for what's coming afterwards. Last week we talked about seed planting, because as soon as this opens back up again, it's time to climb. Not everyone's going to be ready. But what I want you to do is build some of those climbing muscles so when it's time to climb, you'll be able to do it, because everything that's worthwhile is uphill. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, there is always an answer. Last week I said, the greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people is the thinking gap. And here we see it again. Successful people, they know this. There is always an answer. We just have to find it. Unsuccessful people, they throw up their hands in failure. Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. This is hard. When will this be over? When will someone rescue me? That's not how successful people think. They know, you and I know, that there is a solution. There's an answer here, and we just have to find it. We just have to find it. I told you last week I've been a student of history and leaders for over 20 years. I love studying how people before me have gone through things because they teach me. They educate me. Just this week I was looking at the 1918 flu virus, the H1N1 virus of 1918. Killed 50 million Americans. This pales in comparison to that. We got through that because we figured it out. We figured out how to get through that. And the Great Depression. In the 40s, late 30s and 40s, Nazism was sweeping through Europe. Hitler was just dominating everything. We figured it out. We got together, we put minds together, we worked hard, rolled up our sleeves, and we figured it out. I shared this just a little bit last week. I want to share it. My mom told me, because my mom grew up, she was a teenager during the World War II years, and she grew up telling me how amazing it was to watch America come together during that time. Everyone pitching in and buying bonds. And one of the stories I remember, it's weird what sticks out. One of the stories I remember is that they would gather aluminum foil. They'd all collect it in the small towns and they'd ship it off to, I don't remember exactly what they were doing with it, probably munitions. And as I look around our country today, I'm seeing that same kind of thing. People pitching in and masks and all the things people are donating. I'm watching America, and it shows one of the beautiful things of adversity is we set aside a lot of our stupidity and we come together. I love seeing that. Listen, I want to remind you that we can figure this out. We will find answers. Here's the truth. I'm going to be harsh here. Losers like to complain. Winners look for solutions. Losers like to complain, they whine. Winners, they look for solutions. That's what I'd like you to do. I want you to gather your team. It could be this, some sort of Zoom conference, or get together on the phone and huddle up. And you figure out what the problem is. You set the problem in front of you and you work the problem. Get the emotion out, the fear, the worry, the anxiety, what you cannot control. Set it aside and simply work the problem. Because let me remind you of the perspective. There's always an answer. Set your biggest problem in front of you. Get your smartest, creative people around you and say, let's work this problem, and you're going to find some solutions. We always do. You can do that. You don't have to run around afraid. So number one, everything of value is uphill. Number two, there's always an answer for those who look for it. And then number three, allow adversity to help you discover your best self. Allow adversity to help you discover your best self. My company is called Leaders Edge, and our vision statement is this: helping leaders discover the best version of themselves. Let me say it again. Helping leaders discover the best version of themselves. And notice I say nothing about we're going to increase your revenue. We're going to give you 10x scalability. I don't make claims like that, because here's what I know. When a leader becomes the best version of him or herself, those other things just tend to happen. So my focus is always on becoming the best version of myself and helping other people do the same. And adversity is a fantastic time to let some of those things that get in our way get chiseled away. Here's what I can tell you about my own life. From my childhood and the adversity I went through growing up in an alcoholic, abusive home with no dad, many men in and out of my life, it set up all kinds of problems for me. And I have found that each one of those that I have overcome made me a better person. And I will promise you, my greatest impact in the world has come out of my greatest pains. I've said for years, don't waste the pain. Don't waste this pain. This hurts. This sucks. Don't waste it. Let this adversity help you become a better person. When I talk to you about how gold is refined and how diamonds are formed. The way gold is refined is they put the metal in a big kettle in a pot and they heat it up until it's boiling. And then the impurities in that gold, they rise to the surface because gold is so heavy it sinks to the bottom. So the impurities look like they're rising to the top. And so they keep heating up the gold. The impurities rise and they skim it off. The impurities rise and they skim it off. That's what I'd like you to consider doing now. Because every one of us, during this crisis, our impurities are rising to the surface. They are. We've seen some parts of us that they're not the best parts of us. Maybe in your life, fear is coming out. Worry, impatience, as you're being secluded with your family. Maybe it's coming out in how we talk and short fuses. Maybe the isolation, as you're seeing some depression. Maybe it's deeper stuff that we need to work on. I'll tell you what it is in my life. Here's what I've seen in the last 2 weeks. I've seen during this time a level of anxiety for my friends that are leaders of businesses and for my kids rise to a higher level than I've seen before. So during this crisis, what's bubbled up to my surface is a level of anxiety and worry for my friends that are business owners because they're going through so much, and I care about them deeply. And then my kids, this is their first major crisis they've seen in the nation. And I want to make sure they're doing okay. And so I see that in me. So how do you respond when those impurities bubble up? How do you respond to it? What does it look like to clean those off? Here's what I suggest you do. First of all, acknowledge that it's real. I'm afraid. Say it out loud. I'm worried. I'm afraid. I'm angry. I feel betrayed. Say it out loud. Just speak it. Write it down if you need to. So confess it. Speak it. Say it out loud. And then say this: I refuse to let anxiety get in the way of my best self. I refuse. I refuse to let what I can't control get in the way of what I can do for my clients and for my kids. Maybe for you, I refuse to let anger rob me from my best self, or impatience, or fear, or say it out loud and then just refuse it. And we train our brain to become a better version of itself. I say this every single year. I'm going to say it again. Each time a new calendar year rolls around, I'll say this is going to be my best year ever. And I believe it. I don't say it just for positive hype. I truly believe it. And I believe that 2020 is going to be my best year ever. H, how can you say that? This is a terrible year. Look at this year. Listen, I don't care nearly as much about what's going on out there as I care about the man I'm becoming in here. So the stuff that's going on out there, I give it permission. I give myself permission to allow it to help me become a better version of myself. 2020 is going to be my best year ever. Financially, and we all may take hits, but I hope that we allow the pressure and the heat to form the diamond that's inside of us, the pure gold inside of us. Just say it with me right now. 2020 is going to be my best year ever. Some of you don't believe it. Say it again. 2020 is going to be my best year ever. And the reason it's going to be your best year ever is you're going to allow this adversity to help you become a better version of yourself. And then we'll do it again next year. And the year after that. And we keep getting better and better and better because we allow the things around us. We give them permission to help the better things of us come out. Okay. Let's review. Everything of value is uphill. You keep climbing. When you get tired, take a breather. Develop those climbing muscles so you can get to the top and see the view. Number 2, there's always an answer. Losers look for excuses. Winners look for solutions. Number 3, allow adversity to help you discover the best version of yourself. Okay, so that's 3 principles of perspective. Tomorrow is 4 more. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, investing in yourself, and becoming a better version of yourself. I love you all. Now go shine. Thanks.